James Couture's classes, Video Norms and Expectations. Be on time. Be present, attentive. Have your materials ready to go, tabs open and ready. Be school appropriate. Be respectful of each other. Stay muted in full class meetings if you aren't speaking. Keep your video on, unless there are special circumstances. Use the raise hand and chat functions appropriately. Be on time.
Be on time. In fact, be a little early, like maybe 5 minutes, to make sure that your audio and your visual are all set up. If the rest of the class and I have to wait a long time for you to get windows open or get your audio set up, it's going to make for a longer meeting and it's going to be boring to a lot of people. So please be on time. If you do come in late to a video call, please don't ask for a recap to the whole group. That'll just slow everything down for everyone else. There will be recordings, something like this, or maybe a recording of the actual meeting, so wait for that. And the other thing you can do is wait for the asynchronous time, the time where there's not a big conversation going on, and then ask what happened during that previous time. Or maybe text a buddy and ask them what happened, but don't interrupt the full call because you came late.
Be present, attentive.
Being present doesn't just mean being on the call with your camera off and the mic muted. You actually kind of have to be there. And also, do not sit there with your camera off and your mic muted and then play video games or text in some other window. Be present in the actual meeting. Being present means actively listening, actively participating, being ready to answer a question if you are asked during the meeting. It also means being brave enough to ask questions that you have so that you or other people who might have the exact same question don't end up being lost in the meeting. So be an active participant in the meeting.
Have your materials ready to go, tabs open and ready.
In order to keep the meeting from bogging down all the time, make sure that when you're coming to the meeting, you start out with all the probable relevant windows or tabs open in your browser. So for instance, obviously Schoology being open in one tab, having the OneNote page you might need open in another tab, just basically all the stuff that you might need for the meeting. It would be great if you had that open already. So that way we don't have to wait for people to open up all those tabs and therefore the meeting just gets slow and boring for everyone. So make sure you're prepared.
Be school appropriate. Be respectful of each other.
Make sure your desktop and the background of your video call are school appropriate. Not only do you not want to offend your peers and get in trouble for no good reason, but you literally can get in some very major trouble depending on what is in the background. So make sure to check on that before you start the call. And one of the options that makes life a lot easier is just buy a green screen that you can hang behind you. That way you don't have to clean your room or anything, and everything will always be the background you want as long as you're careful. So don't get in trouble with backgrounds. Thanks. Similarly, keep your language and your gestures appropriate for a normal school. There's no reason to offend other people, and there's no reason to get in trouble for a silly video call.
Stay muted in full class meetings if you aren't speaking.
In the direct instruction parts of the video calls, parts where you might be watching a video together or where I might be talking or something like that, keep your mic muted, please. That is sometimes a problem because you forget to unmute when I've asked a question or something like that. But on the other hand, we don't want to have to constantly slow down the meeting or deal with all the problems of like reverb and dogs barking and all other business. So in the big parts of the meeting, keep your mic muted. On the other hand, in small group settings, something like a breakout room or where there's just a few people, anything maybe where you can see everybody on the screen, there you should not keep your mic muted unless you have to because of the background noise, because you really want to be able to interject and make the conversation pretty normal. So think about your mic muting based on the size of the class that you're actually dealing with in the video call at the moment.
Keep your video on unless there are special circumstances.
It's really hard to teach if I can't see your face, your body language, how the class is dealing with anything I'm doing at any given time. So please leave your camera on so that I can actually adjust my teaching based on what I see. If I can't see you, I might think things are going well, I might think things are going badly, and it just makes everything very confusing. So please keep your camera on. In the same way that I adjust my teaching, you guys probably adjust your learning. You see other faces of each other, and therefore there's something you can get about how is the class understanding this. And that also helps your learning, just to see where you are compared to other people. And also it keeps the meeting more interesting if you can see not just me or hear me, but you can also see other people's faces and stuff like that. So again, the cameras really do serve a purpose, even if it's a little awkward to be on one of these video calls. If you do have to keep your camera off because you're having a particularly bad hair day, or you have some actual documented issue that makes it so you need to keep your camera off, or your background's really problematic and there's nothing you can do about that, that's fine. But make sure it doesn't become a major habit unless you've cleared it with me. The camera thing and having a community where people can see each other really is important for making this work. But if you do need to have your camera off, that is a thing you can do.
Use the raise hand and chat functions appropriately.
Remember that there is a raise hand icon in the video call app, so definitely use that so that I know to stop what I'm doing and catch your question. That also allows me to kind of finish the thought I'm doing and then look for the hand, so please use that. You can also just raise your hand if your camera's on, although obviously the hand raising icon is better. It's also much easier to teach when it is communicative. If you're raising your hands, asking questions and stuff like that, not only will you actually get the information you need, but I'll be less canned and less like I'm doing in this call where I'm talking to really nobody at all. So definitely hand raising and asking questions in these video calls is really important, as it is in a normal classroom. The chat pane in a video call is also super important. So make sure that you have the chat window open. Usually there's like a little cartoon bubble thing you click and it opens up the chat. And that chat window is super important because I can post like links to things. You can type questions in that you don't necessarily want to ask out loud, all of that. So that chat function can be very, very helpful for keeping the class on track. And if you don't have it open, you might miss some link or something. So make sure that's open all the time. On the other hand, do make sure that the chat is not just silly. Like, you don't want to ask silly questions there. A joke here and there might be appropriate, because sometimes it is. But on the other hand, you don't want to use that to just distract the class all the time. And if somebody says thank you, it would be much better if you just thumbs up the first thank you than just having 40 thank yous in a row. So basically think about how you're using chat so that it actually helps us all. All right. Thank you. Bye.